The case I'm trying to make here is that we have a God that delights in destruction, that punishes with glee, that is boastful about his power and his ability to inflict harm and terror, whose very definition of wisdom is fearing him. Again, in contrast to the loving, merciful God that desires that none should perish. So again, those verses are in the Bible, but they're not the only ones, and we should be paying attention to this. Ezekiel 9:5-6, as I listened, he said to the others, follow him through the city and kill, without showing pity or compassion. Slaughter the old men, the young men and women, the mothers and children, but do not touch anyone that has the mark. This is God speaking to his soldiers. Now, there's different ideas about if these were actually angels or if these were soldiers of the city. The prophet was supposed to go around and put a mark on everyone's head that wasn't to be touched, that was to be spared by God. But for the rest of these people, including women and children, what could they have possibly done? And listen to the way in which they're supposed to do this horrific thing without showing pity or compassion. God is commanding his counsel one way or another to go and picture it. Kill babies, rip them from their mothers, maybe before, maybe after they have just killed this woman, hiding in fear, trying to cover her baby. And this thing, soldier or angel, takes what? A knife, slits the baby's throat, cuts the baby's head off, suffocates the baby to death, smothers it, throws it off the high wall, and is told by God himself, don't you dare do it with compassion. This is the God Christians believe in and serve. And their denial of the fact that this God is like this is without justification, because he's bragging about it in his own word, the word that is used for you to know him. You can't have your cake and eat it too. You do not get to enjoy the niceties of this God while simply ignoring the horror. And you can tell me none of this proves that God isn't real? Fine. You're right. But it should prove to you, you have no business claiming this God is good. You have no business claiming this God is perfect or consistent or fair or just. According to his own standard, he is a hypocritical and evil dictator. Period. Isaiah 47:3, your nakedness shall be uncovered and your shame shall be seen. That's hard to say. I will take vengeance and I will spare no one. The need to add shame is something that I think is also highly problematic, and we could bring up 100 more verses. In fact, just in Nahum, we have an exact verse like this, where he is pulling the personified city's dress up over her face to reveal her nakedness and to shame her. Very similar to what we're seeing here in Isaiah. And it is unnecessary, no? Let's use an example. Let's say we agree that war has to happen and we should have etiquette in war. We should have certain rules for how we conduct ourselves and how we expect the enemy to conduct themselves when it comes to treating prisoners, accepting surrenders, etc. Geneva Convention stuff. Now, not that this is always followed. Obviously, there are people that do horrific things in war. But the very fact we have something on the books that says something like, we shouldn't rape these people, we shouldn't strip them naked to shame them, proves that even as a society that still breaks these rules, we are already better off than the God that commands these kinds of things himself. Does no one else see the conflict here? Shame is an unnecessary part of punishment unless it is for your own delight at your victim's expense. Okay, just a couple more. Isaiah 1:24, therefore the Lord declares, the Lord of hosts, the mighty one of Israel, I will get my relief from the enemies and avenge myself on my foes. Once again, just wanting to point out, God does not see us all as his chosen people. He does not see us all as his children, worthy of love and respect, but still needing to be punished. Imagine for 1 second that I, as a parent who do have to discipline and punish my children, did so with any of this kind of verbiage or attitude. Imagine that I laugh at them in their distress. Imagine that I use such heavy and harsh language to describe the terror that I'm going to bring them. Imagine that I strip them so that they feel even more shame and guilt other than whatever we're having to address in the first place. Vengeance and punishment are so very different, and yet vengeance gets such a pass in the Bible from these believers. Imagine when I got done punishing them, I said, my relief. Finally, relief from my enemies. I have now avenged myself of my foes. That's not love. Psalm 37:13, which is the Lord laughs at the wicked, for he knows their day is coming. That's delighting in destruction. Or Psalm 2:4-5, the one enthroned in heaven laughs. The Lord scoffs at them. He rebukes them in his anger and terrifies them in his wrath. Look at what they say about this God. Oh, what a loving, remarkable, slow to anger, merciful God, great Father this entity is. Nope.